You ever seen something that just didn't belong in this world anymore? Like it had been chewed up and spit out by God himself. That's what she saw that morning, and it was the middle of July. The kind of heat that makes the wooden porch groan under your feet and makes the air shimmer like it's got secrets to tell. The dust still hung heavy from last night's storm, and everything was quiet. Too quiet. Clara May had just stepped out to check the damage on her front fence when she saw it. Or rather, him, lying near the edge of her land, face down in the dirt, boots torn, shirt ripped to shreds like he'd been dragged through hell and back. A man, not moving. At first, she thought it was a dead body, maybe a drifter caught in the storm, maybe worse, but something in her gut told her to walk closer. She'd lived on this land for 20 years, lost a husband to a broken neck during a cattle stampede, outlived neighbors who packed up and left, and buried more animals than she cared to count. She wasn't scared of bodies. She was scared of what being alone does to a soul. When she reached him, she saw the blood, crusted along his hairline, caked on his knuckles, and dust packed so deep into his skin it looked like he'd turned to stone. He was breathing. Barely. And Clara, despite every warning that echoed in her head, every newspaper headline about fugitives and robbers and lowlifes riding the dust trails, she did what no one else in town would have done. She dragged that broken man to her porch, one boot at a time, sweating and cursing and praying under her breath. And she laid him down inside her house, on the same couch where her husband once took his afternoon naps. Back when life still had music in it, she didn't even know his name. All she knew was that something about the way he clung to life made her believe there was more to this story than just another drifter blown in from the storm. She fetched water, boiled old bandages, wiped the blood from his brow, and waited for him to open his eyes. Or maybe to never wake at all. But when he did, what she saw staring back at her was not just a man. It was a storm wearing human skin. He didn't say a word the first few hours, just laid there on her old couch, eyes half-lidded, breathing like every inhale cost him something. Claire sat across the room, hands folded in her lap, pretending to knit, but she wasn't fooling anyone, not even herself. She was watching him, like a hawk watches something it doesn't quite trust, but can't help but be drawn to. The kettle hissed on the stove. The old floorboards creaked when the wind pushed against the walls, and time stretched out like taffy left in the sun. Finally, just as the sun started to bleed orange across the horizon, he spoke. "Where am I?" His voice was dry, hoarse, like it hadn't been used in days, or maybe longer. "You're in my house," Claire said, calm but firm. "In Carson, Nevada. You came crawling out of the dust like a ghost looking for somewhere to die." He blinked slow, confusion clouding his face. She handed him a chipped mug of water and watched him drink like it was the first clean water he'd ever had. Then came the question she'd been chewing on for hours. "What's your name?" A pause, then, softly, "Jack, just Jack. No last name, no backstory, just a name that hung in the air like smoke." He tried to sit up but winced hard. Grabbing at his side, Clara rushed over. Not out of fear, but instinct. She'd patched up horses worse off than him. As she checked the bandages, she noticed his hands, calloused, scarred, not just from hard work, but from something uglier, something he wasn't ready to talk about. "You got enemies out there?" she asked, eyes still on his bruised ribs. Another pause. "Don't we all?" It wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was the one she expected. The room went quiet again, save for the cicadas buzzing outside like the world didn't care one bit what was going on inside that little farmhouse. But Claire cared, and as the sky went dark, she knew one thing for sure, whatever storm Jack had come from. He wasn't done running. The morning sun showed no mercy. It came up fast, beat down harder, turning every inch of Clara's front yard into something brittle and angry. She stepped onto the porch like always, coffee in hand, gaze drifting across the horizon like it had every morning since her husband passed. But today, something was off. She felt it before she saw it. a horse, then a man. Slim Harper. He rode up real slow, the kind of slow that makes your gut twist a little. Dirty hat, yellow teeth. A grin that said nothing good. He'd always sniffed around Clara like a dog, too dumb to know better, but today he wasn't smiling just for flirt. He leaned on the saddle horn, eyes cutting toward the front door. Well, well, he said, spitting dust. You got company now, huh? Behind Clara, the screen door creaked open. Jack, still bruised, still healing, but standing tall, shirt half unbuttoned, and the desert wind tugging at him like it wanted to keep him. Slim's grin faded. Damn, thought I knew that face. Clara's fingers tightened around her mug. Slim spat again, louder this time. You're the son of a gun from Arizona, ain't you? The bar shooting, 4 folks dead. You disappeared. They had posters up with your face, friend. Thought you were a ghost. Jack stepped forward. Slow like thunder rolls before the rain. His voice was low. I ain't the man they want. But if you came here to start something, best do it now. Slim's mouth twitched. But he didn't get off that horse. Didn't draw. Didn't test him. Instead, he yanked the reins and rode off fast, like the devil might change his mind. Clara didn't speak, but in that silence, something changed. She didn't know who Jack really was, but she knew one thing for sure. He wasn't running anymore. And if trouble was coming, he'd meet it head on. If you're still here, friend, that says something. Maybe it's the kind of story that hits close to home. Maybe you've known a man like Jack, or maybe you've been him. Either way, if this tale's kept your boots planted and your coffee cooling, then I'd be real honored if you subscribe to the channel, because there's more to come. And what's coming next ain't gonna be quiet. By the time the noon heat rolled in, the dust was already hanging heavy. Clara had just finished hanging the last sheet when she heard it. Hooves, not 1 horse, 3. Slim was back, and he brought company. 2 mean-eyed boys with him. Looked like they hadn't seen a soft bed in months. One had a scar curling down his neck. The other kept fingering the butt of his pistol like he was itching for something to go wrong. Claire stepped off the porch, wiping her hands on her apron. What you want? Slim, she asked, her voice steady. But inside, her stomach flipped. Slim smirked. Just passing through. Thought we'd say howdy. Maybe ask your friend in there a few more questions. Jack stepped into view. No shirt now, just bandages and bruises and a look in his eyes that could cut bone. The moment felt thick. Then the scar-neck fella took a step forward, grinning. Man like you got no place hiding out here. Folks back in Arizona still whisper your name like it's death itself. That was the wrong thing to say. Jack moved so fast it felt like a blur. A punch, a boot to the gut. Then the third man hit the ground, groaning, face already swelling. Slim reached for his gun, but Clara was faster. She didn't raise her voice, didn't blink. She just cocked the shotgun resting behind the door. The sound was louder than thunder. Slim froze. His hand hovered, then dropped. Jack leaned in close, low voice full of steel. Tell the rest of 'em what you saw here. Tell 'em I ain't hiding, but I ain't running either. Slim nodded once, spat. Then he and his boys backed off. Slow like dogs caught stealing meat. That night, the sheriff himself showed up. He held out a slip of paper, a letter. Official. Jack read it, then handed it to Clara. Wrong man's been running, the sheriff said. We got the real one. Turns out Jack here saved a woman during that bar shooting. Even took a bullet doing it. Clara didn't speak, just reached out, took Jack's hand in hers. Something shifted in the air that night. A storm had passed, but another kind was building. The next morning came quiet. No storms, no wind, just the soft sound of birds and the scent of hot coffee. Jack sat on the porch steps, carving a small wooden horse. Claire stepped out, wrapped in her shawl, hair loose for the first time in years. They didn't speak at first. Sometimes the best words were the ones unsaid. Then Jack looked up, his voice calm, but with something different behind it, something steady. I've been running too long, he said, looking for something that didn't feel like a lie. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small silver ring. scratched and worn, but honest. I ain't got much, but I've got my word, and I've got you. If you'll have me." Claire didn't cry. She'd used up most of her tears years ago, but she smiled, one of those soft, tired smiles that carried 1,000 storms behind it. "Come inside, Jack," she whispered. "You're home now." And just like that, the dust didn't feel so heavy anymore. It wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't some story where all the bad just disappeared, but it was real. And it was theirs. The kind of ending folks forget is possible. When life's worn them down too long, maybe it's not about starting fresh. Maybe it's just about choosing to stop running and finally planting your feet in the dirt long enough for something good to grow. If this story moves something inside you, take a second to let us know. What would you have done if you were Clara? Would you take a broken man with a good heart or turn him away? Is love at 40 still brave? Is redemption real? If it comes too late, tell us below. We read every single comment, and if you want more tales like this, stories of grit, second chances, and hearts that don't give up easy, hit that like button, click subscribe, and stick around. The West still has stories left to tell.